Good evening, you're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The Sultanate announces registration of 21 new cases of coronavirus COVID-19 infection. And global efforts continue to deal with COVID-19 as the death toll and infections rise. Live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television, here we present to you the details. In a statement, the Minister of Health announced the registration of 21 new cases of coronavirus COVID-19 infection for citizens. 8 of them are related to contact with infected patients and 8 cases related to traveling, while 5 are subject to an epidemiological investigation. The total number of cases recorded in the Sultanate now is 152. The ministry calls upon all to strictly adhere to the quarantine procedures in a separate room and toilet as directed. It also called on all citizens and residents to constantly clean hands with soap and water and avoid touching the face, nose, mouth and eyes, and follow hygienic habits when sneezing and coughing, and strictly adhere to the social distancing instructions issued by the COVID-19 Supreme Committee and the Ministry of Health. Upon the decision of the Supreme Committee dealing with COVID-19 developments, the Omani embassies and attaches abroad started to facilitate the procedures related to the return of the citizens, including the Omani students, to the Sultanate through commercial and charter flights. The bodies concerned stress that all the necessary efforts are being exerted to ensure the return of citizens, and at the same time it hopes for the understanding of all that this operation takes time and needs arrangements with the airline companies given the current situation of the spread of COVID-19 around the world. Haider bin Sharaf al-Musawi, an Omani PhD student in the field of molecular pharmacology at the University of Strathclyde, was able to provide a modern method for treating brain cancer in his current study in the UK, Glasgow. Modern method is based on the selective inhibition of neurological signals inside the cancer cell, adding that he is currently diagnosing and treating cases with a genetic mutations that is the highest in patients with this type of cancer. Haider bin Sharaf al-Musawi, who is gifting his achievements to Oman and His Majesty the Sultan, is a graduate of bachelor's degree in pharmacy from the University of Strathclyde in 2011. He obtained a clinical pharmacy master's degree from Robert Gordon University in 2016 and works as a lecturer and researcher in the pharmacy program at the Oman College of Health and Science. And now, live with us on telephone call is Haider in Glasgow. Haider, good evening to you.
Hello and good evening. Thank you for having me this evening.
Thank you very much. And first of all, we'd like to say congratulations for your achievement in your study. And tell us, first of all, how are you keeping up with the world pandemic? Are you okay there?
We are coping well with the current situation and sticking to the rules and restrictions applied by the UK government to handle these circumstances that we all hope pass soon.
So you are actually following the precautionary measures which are kept there in the United Kingdom?
Exactly, exactly.
Well, can you tell us about your study then? What is glioblastoma and why glioblastoma?
Well, glioblastoma is actually a grade 4 brain cancer and is considered one of the most aggressive types of cancer, with a mean survival period of 15 months with the current therapy approach. Mm-hmm. And it's worth mentioning that the number of cases in Oman increased by about 20% from 1996 to the year 2015. So that's why I chose glioblastoma to try and come up with a novel strategy to help either treat the disease or prolong the survival with better quality of life.
And what is the nature of your study exactly?
Well, my study is actually divided into two phases. So phase one was to prove that there is a very specific cell signaling in the cancer cell, and it is active. And then we can use it as a potential target for new drug therapy. I managed to knock down this cell signaling pathway, which is called the NF-kappa B pathway. Specifically speaking, one part of it, which is the non-canonical pathway, using first-in-class, in-house made small molecules as a novel compounds to treat cancer. And the preliminary results are really, really promising. And the second phase comes now, while I'm examining the effect of such compounds and molecules on the phenotypic characteristics of cancer cells, such as cell growth, invasion, metastasis, and most importantly, immortality. And that is linked to the gene mutation HTERT, which is found to be found in more than 55% of the cancer cases. In this phase also,
okay. Continue.
In this phase, I will also diagnose specific HTERT mutant cells and then try to knock down these signaling pathways in such a subpopulation of patients using more sophisticated laboratory and clinical examination and tests.
Is this the only study that has been conducted, or there are other studies conducted similar to this?
It has been conducted on other cancer cell types, like the pancreatic cancer, the breast cancer, and prostate cancer, but it is the first in glioblastoma.
Wonderful. Now, what is next then? Tell us next.
Well, next will be using the first-in-class, potentially novel anti-cancer small molecules to treat those subpopulation of patients with such compounds for a long-term therapy approach that is more specific to the HTERT mutation. And it will also help to provide a new diagnostic tool in glioblastoma cell lines.
Well, Haider, thank you very much. Well done and great achievements. We wish you all the best and keep it up. Stay safe and healthy. Oman needs you. We are waiting for you to come back. And thank you once again. That was Haider bin Sharaf al-Musawi, PhD student at the University of Strathclyde, Glasgow, United Kingdom. The WHO representative in the Sultanate of Oman commended the efforts made by the government of Oman towards dealing with COVID-19. More details in the following report. The world is facing unprecedented times, and we are all equal in the face of the COVID-19, which WHO announced as a pandemic on 11th of March 2020. I met with Dr. Agjimal Maktimova, WHO representative in the Sultanate, and I asked her, how does she see the overall escalation of COVID-19 in Oman and the country's response?
The virus is marching across the globe, and over the past weeks you have seen the escalation of cases of COVID-19. And I am pleased to say that Oman has taken comprehensive measures, like many other countries, including physical distancing, closure of school, and other measures. I see the capacity of the Ministry of Health and other stakeholders, including other sectors, are there for surveillance, to detect, to trace contacts, and to isolate, and also to treat. There is also a responsibility of each and every one of us actually to adhere to those measures. Only together we will be able to stop the spread of this disease.
What are the best strategies to stop this deadly virus?
Among the strategies and measures which have been already taken by the Supreme Council and the Ministry of Health, we see physical distancing and closure of schools, for example. And I see that and WHO recommends those strategies as in order to actually flatten what we call epidemiological curve and let time for health systems to prepare, as well as for the international global community to look into research, to look into development of vaccines, and to look into treatment methodologies.
Finally, what message would you like to send to the people?
Each of us, each of you, responsible and can contribute to the fight against the virus, whether it is about individual or general hygiene, whether it's about measures which are already taken, adhering to those measures like physical distancing, whether it's isolation or home quarantine. Each of us, it's time for solidarity, and each of us can contribute to fight against this virus. And I would like to see I believe that in the face of this adversity, humanity should prevail, solidarity should prevail, and beautiful people of Oman should be also able to demonstrate those qualities in these times of difficulty and adversity to fight the virus.
Respiratory virus like coronavirus disease COVID-19 spread when mucus or droplets containing the virus get into your body through your eyes, nose or throat. Most often this happens through your hands. Hands are also one of the most common ways that the virus spreads from one person to the next. One of the cheapest, easiest and most important ways to prevent the spread of virus is to wash your hands frequently with soap and water, together with other precautionary measures. Worldwide, the infections from the coronavirus are soaring up as healthcare system is trying to keep up with. The government of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq has geared up all its efforts to combat the pandemic. In this context, citizens and residents' support to follow all the instructions issued by the Supreme Committee is very, very important. Stay safe and healthy, follow the precautionary measures. In front of the Minister of Health, I'm Abdullah bin Ahmed Al-Rubi'i, Sultanate of Oman Television. That was recorded just a few minutes ago. The Public Authority for Consumer Protection stressed on the stability of the prices of the products at the Central Vegetables and Fruits Market despite the current situation caused by the COVID-19 on both domestic and global levels. It added that some seasonal products are witnessing a variation in prices based on the volume of demand and offer. It's worth mentioning that the Public Authority for Consumer Protection formed a work team to monitor the prices of products as well as to ensure the availability of the products in the markets. The Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries Wealth, in coordination with the bodies concerned, implemented the decision of closing the fish markets in the wilayas of the governorates of North and South Al-Batina and South Al-Sharqiyya starting from today and until further notice. This came within the efforts exerted to limit the impacts caused by the spread of coronavirus. Meanwhile, the ministry directed the fishermen and traders towards alternative marketing channels, in addition to making the consumers aware that there are companies, factories and central markets available in all wilayas. The ministry is also in direct contact with most of the marketing outlets and commercial centers related to fish products in the current period, with the possibility of home delivery service.
Non-compliance with the directives of the Supreme Committee dealing with coronavirus COVID-19 exposes you to risk and legal action. Stay safe.
International news. Italian President Sergio Mattarella last night said his country is living through a sad page in their history, with its oldest generation paying a very, very high price in loss of life from the coronavirus outbreak. Mattarella was addressing the nation in a video message from his Rome residence. With the coffins pulling up in the country, with the highest number of deaths in the world of persons affected with the coronavirus, Mattarella sought to shore up morale last night. He hailed the thousands of doctors who have volunteered to work in the hardest hit areas of the outbreak in Italy's north. He encouraged Italians to keep obeying a national decree that has kept them at home for 2.5 weeks so far, save to go essential jobs or do other vital tasks like shop for food. Mattarella took the task leaders of some European Union countries who have balked and giving countries like Italy and Spain reeling under the economic impacts of the outbreak, the concrete solidarity promptly required.
Ormai fuori dalla realtà delle drammatiche condizioni del nostro continente.
After days of pleading from the nation's governors, U.S. President Donald Trump took steps to expand the federal government's role in helping to produce critically needed supplies to fight the coronavirus pandemic. It was an abrupt about-face by Trump, who had questioned governors' needs for crucial medical equipment like masks and ventilators, and made clear that he believed it was up to the states and not him to secure those supplies. The invocation, he said, should demonstrate clearly to all that we will not hesitate to use the full authority of the federal government to combat this crisis. Trump yesterday signed an order aimed at compelling General Motors to prioritize the production of ventilators under the Defense Production Act. Hours earlier, Trump had taken issue with the very idea that states would need an influx of the machines. A town in Wales used a drone to warn the public to stay home, using a pre-recorded message to remind citizens of government social distancing measures. Neath Port Talbot Council's team with South Wales Police used the drone to target hot spots where people have not been following orders. The UK government yesterday confirmed 14,543 people in the country have tested positive for the new coronavirus, with 759 deaths. For most people, the new coronavirus caused mild or moderate symptoms such as fever and cough that clear up in 2 to 3 weeks. For some, especially older adults and people with existing health problems, it can cause more severe illness, including pneumonia and, unfortunately, death.
This is a message from Neath Port Talbot Council. Please follow the government rules at this time. You must stay home. Only be outside for food, for health reasons, for exercise, alone or with members of your household, or if you're an essential key worker. Stay 2 meters away from other people and wash your hands as soon as you get home. For the latest accurate information from Neath Port Talbot Council, visit npt.gov.uk. Stay home. Protect our NHS. Save lives. This is a message from Neath Port Talbot Council. Please follow the government rules at this time.
Indeed, drone to urge people to stay home and take all precautionary measures. And those messages are not only to the United Kingdom, but throughout the world. Now, to prevent the spread of coronavirus, it is very crucial to adhere to the preventive measures, including social distancing. More details in the following report. Based on the decision by the Supreme Council, shopping centers are closed except food markets or grocery stores remained opened. The action is taken to avoid crowds gathering and maintain social distancing. Food market operators are to ensure hygiene measures are in place, and together with the public, they have to make sure to create no crowdness by having adequate spacing between individuals. During our tour, we have noticed the application of some of precautionary measures where number of customers at the cashier store are limited to avoid congestion. However, some places one could notice big number of people are close by. Hence, this situation could be a source for transmitting infections should in case one has without his knowledge.
Coronavirus is very dangerous, guys. So as far as you can stay at home, please stay at home. Now we just buy some foods in Carrefour to have some stock. But if you can stay at home, better if you will stay home.
We should avoid touching each other, shaking hands, and we should really try to follow the rules of social distancing. And we should stay at home.
We should keep listen or keep getting the instruction from MOH and the higher committee, and just stay at home and don't get out just for necessary purposes.
Therefore, it is important to remind customers to be vigilant in following the precautionary measures and only buy what they need so that they can spend less time to reduce crowdedness and at the same time preventing the risk of transmitting infections. Abdullah bin Ahmed al-Rubi'i, Sultanate of Oman Television, Muscat. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman Television, and before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Sultanate announces registration of 21 new cases of coronavirus COVID-19 infection for citizens. And global efforts continue to deal with COVID-19 as the death toll and infections rise. With that, we do conclude this news bulletin. From all of us here in the studio, to you all there, stay at home, safe and healthy. Good night.